Hey everyone, you're watching JT Jester Speaks. So excited for today's episode because we have the opportunity to interview a dear friend of mine, Scott Kartvedt, who is a great Patriot. He is also a fighter pilot. He has served in the US Navy for many, many years and has also taken his career from the Navy to the Blue Angels and now to a stunt pilot in the new movie Top Gun Maverick. Let's go sit down with Scott and hear more of his life journey. Hi everyone, thanks for watching JT Jester Speaks. I am here with Scott Kartvedt and his call sign is Intake. I'm so excited to be here with my dear friend Intake. We've had a lot of adventures together ourselves and a lot of fun. I'm just gonna read off a few of the things that your accomplishments that are unbelievable.
Sure.
But first off, you have served as a commanding officer of the US Navy 1st Stealth Fighter Squadron. You've flown as a Blue Angel pilot, and you also have participated in 5 combat tours, including 2 of which where you were leading 250 sailors as FA-18 commander. Awesome. And then off of that, you've continued on with your motivational speaking, your coaching, and then also being a part of the Patriot jet team, and then working with United Airlines and flying Boeing, or the simulator, and being a flight instructor, I guess is the better way to put it, right?
Right.
And a flight instructor for the Boeing 737.
Yeah.
And one of his newest and very cool, we'll get into how this is full circle, but being a pilot for the new Top Gun movie.
That's the full circle. That's the part that makes it complete. So
that is awesome.
You know, it's humbling when you hear it back, and all of the time in the Navy was just exceptional. But to that full circle piece, it all started with Top Gun. I saw it when I was 18, came out when I was a senior in high school, and my best friend Bob and I said, you know, by God, we're going to go ahead and fly fighters, you know, the boisterous exaggerations of an 18-year-old. And sure enough, he went and flew F-15s, I flew F-18s, and 33 years later, I had the opportunity to fly in the movie, so we could talk about
that. That is so cool. So Top Gun, the movie, was one of your leading roles into pushing you and getting into aviation.
It was the leading role. Yeah, I ended up going to Pepperdine University, but when that movie came out, you know, the opening scene and they're on the carrier and the music's playing and you just, I mean, I got goosebumps thinking about it right now. And we saw that and thought, we want to do that, which hopefully there's a lot of young men and women that are thinking the exact same thing with Maverick right now. I mean, it's just a great recruiting tool. It is. And a great highlight of what our sailors and Marines do every day.
Totally.
At work.
Yeah, and so take us for a little walk through your journey as being in the Navy and flying off of aircraft carriers and through the training and sort of your span of getting into the career.
Yeah, so, you know, your philosophy is no bad days, right? Yep. There's hard days, there's no bad days. And I always just, with a great attitude, always seeked opportunity. And I talk about saying yes. Somebody would say, hey, Intake, would you like to do this or try this? And I'd say, yeah, sure. Totally. Let's try that. Let's do it. And that just opens doors and opportunities. Not all of them work, but a lot of them do. Yeah. And so from flight school to F-18s, I went to Japan, Iraq in 1996, was a flight instructor in F-18s, was applied for the Blue Angels, which I did, failed the first in 1999, but was successful the second time. Got picked up to be a member of the team, and that's a pivotal moment, right? Yeah. Where your whole life just shifts. And so that was a big shifting moment to provide opportunities. Totally.
I love how you talk about yes. I mean, I think in my life, you know, there's a lot of people that say no to you in life and say you won't be able to achieve this or do that. And you're a great example of how putting your best foot forward and just saying yes and doing it can get you to, you know, new heights that you never expected. I'm sure you didn't expect you'd be flying. Maybe it was a dream, but you didn't know how you'd get there to be flying in Maverick, in the new Top Gun movie, as well as Blue Angels.
Right. people limit themselves by assuming that an answer will be no. And so my theory on yes is I applied to be an astronaut. And all of my friends said, you're not a test pilot. You don't have an engineering degree. You're never going to be an astronaut. And I said, well, what are they going to do? Tell me I'm not an astronaut? I'm already not an astronaut. So all they can do is bring good news.
It's so true.
So I applied, and I'm not an astronaut. But I was a Blue Angel, and I did get to fly on Top Gun and do some great things.
Yeah.
With the same attitude, right?
Exactly. Now, when you're flying F-18s or you're flying in the Blue Angels, you know, what does the training take place to get you to that level? I mean, physical training, the learning the aircraft and
Sure.
maneuvering at that high speed is incredible.
Learning to fly is the hardest thing I have ever done. I mean, learning in the three-dimensional world, essentially with your eyes closed and instruments or at night, is it was very difficult for me to learn, but just that perseverance, the determination, the end goal to fly fighters. The Blues specifically was really intense training. You go through 10 weeks of training out in El Centro, California from January to March, like a spring training in baseball. You're flying 15 times a week. You don't start as close as you and I are sitting.
Yeah.
That's where we end up.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of improving each and every day in working on the skill sets to get you better and just dialing up the execution every day.
Yeah, that is incredible. And so, you know, going from Navy to Blue Angels, and then from there, what is a little bit of your journey now? What are you up to now?
Well, so I retired from the Navy in 2013 and got accepted to United Airlines and became a flight instructor. I did some leadership training at United as the facilitator instructor, which opened up tremendous opportunities at United. And I was running San Francisco Fleet Week for United Airlines. I was training the 777 pilots because they knew my air show background and said, hey, would you do this? Yes. And so, no kidding, Saturday in San Francisco at an air show, I saw the Patriot jet team flying, and they announced one of the Blue Angels that I had flown with as one of the pilots. Didn't even know they existed. The next day, I saw that pilot. Oh man, how are you? How are you? Great. How's family? All those niceties. And he immediately said, hey, we're looking for a guy. Are you interested? And what do you think I said?
Yes.
Yes. I said, sure,
Go
I'm
to.
interested.
Yep.
And 2 weeks later, I'm doing loops to music in a Yugoslavian L-39. And they said, hey, we want you to be the number 5 pilot for the team. And I called my wife, Lisa, and said, what do you think? And she said, well, what do you think? And I said, it made me feel alive. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. And she said, well, I think you should do it. And that got me on the Patriot jet team. The Patriot jet team won the cinematography contract to film Top Gun. And that was
the entry into being the stunt pilot. Now, you've gone from a lot of different planes, right? So how is the transferring from one plane to another? I mean, flying a 737 and then flying an F-18 are two completely different cockpits.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But the general characteristics of planes are the same, right? They have hydraulic systems, oil systems, fuel systems, electrical systems. So, and the aerodynamics is the same whether you're in a Cessna 172 or a Boeing 737. So that's not a big deal. And you just have to understand how that airplane operates, the same way that you would between an F-150 and a Porsche 911.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And so when you're flying those planes, and we can get into more detail when we talk more about Maverick and Top Gun, and so, you know, you're flying so close to each other, like the Blue Angels, and when you're in those patterns, how do you know, when I'm driving on the highway and I'm going around a turn at 75 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, and there's a car next to me, you know, you're trying to stay in your lane, but you don't have lane markers up there. So how do you keep on track?
Well, so the boss, the number 1 pilot, is responsible for where the formation goes. But when I'm flying, I fly on the left outside. So I'm looking through number 3 to number 1, and we just did this at the Sonoma Raceway this weekend. And so everybody uses number 1 as the anchor. And how close do we fly? Sometimes, depending on the weather, if you're body is the other airplane, the number 3 wing.
Yes.
And the canopy of the L-39 is right here. Sometimes it can be that close.
Wow.
Certainly with the blues.
You're that close.
Yeah, not in all the looping maneuvers and such.
But straightaways and
so close where you just, I mean, the intensity is right there.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And so, you know, when you're doing those maneuvers, what speed are you doing that at and stuff too?
With the Blue Angels, it's usually 400 knots.
Okay.
Is most of the maneuvering. 350 to 450, but targeting 400.
Yeah.
In the Patriots, because they're a Eastern-based or European-based system, it's all in kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
But it's probably 250 to 300 miles per hour.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's happening fast.
It is. Everything's happening fast. Yeah. And so, you know, with you having all this background in aviation and then being a flight instructor, what is like one of the number one pieces of advice that you give to your students and your people that are learning from you?
Oh, the number one piece of advice would be take the time to debrief. Mm-hmm. Everybody briefs and puts together their plan, but plans never execute the way that you would expect. So how do you improve each and every flight or each and every day is taking the time to debrief. What went well? What could we do better next time? Because you want to improve upon those best practices, and you also want to reinforce the good behaviors, something that people are doing well, but then you want to dial up and improve. And you can't take it personally.
Yeah.
And just get better.
Now let's jump into the movie here.
Yeah.
When you're talking about debriefing, when I watched the new Top Gun movie, that's one of the things that he talks about, and Tom Cruise does in-depth talk about debriefing and talks about what they did right, what they did wrong, and he really shows it to them what they did wrong and stuff. Because learning from our mistakes. I think that plays out in all of our lives.
And as soon as you take the ego out of it and realize, if I take the opportunity to say, hey, JT, you could do this better.
Yep.
A lot of people will consider that an attack. But people who excel realize that I'm taking the time to share my experience with you because I care about you and I believe in you.
Yeah.
And as soon as you make that mental shift, then you beg for the debrief, right? Oh, tell me how I can be better.
Exactly. And learning from our mistakes.
Right.
So, which in the movie it highlights very much so of what they're doing wrong, and egos too.
Oh yeah.
But at the end, they all pull together as a team.
Yeah.
And so tell us about how you got into being a stunt pilot.
Yeah, so Randy Howell, who owns the Patriot jet team, got together with Kevin LaRosa, who owns Helinet, and Helinet is a big Hollywood aerial cinematography company.
Okay.
But they needed jets to submit a bid. Randy has a whole bunch of jets. And so they developed a camera system that could be controlled from the back cockpit that could data link data to the directors real time so that they could see the shot as it's being filmed. And so they developed this system for the L-39, submitted their bid, won the contract.
Got it.
And when they won that contract, they needed to train the pilots also for Top Gun, the actors.
Yeah, and so the actors, what I had heard from you is that the actors actually went through some training so they could act better in the cockpit, even though they were probably just in like a simulator, right? Or a studio, I should call it.
Well, no, so that's the realism, and that's what Tom brings
wanted.
To all of his movies. He didn't want CGI and fake flying. He wanted real flying, which is what makes the movie so great.
Yeah.
So all of the actors started in a single engine prop plane. I believe it was a Cessna 172. I wasn't involved in that part. Then they went to an aerobatic single engine prop plane. And then when they got into jets and they had adjusted physiologically to flying three-dimensionally, they came to the L-39 and ran. That's when I first stepped into the movie world, and Randy said, hey, based on your experience and your training, can you come help me, and we'll fly the pilots and we'll do some ACM and we'll pull 8Gs.
So did you fly with some of the actors too?
Yeah.
Was Tom Cruise there?
I didn't fly with Tom. Tom flew exclusively with Randy. In fact, my life with Tom Cruise at 18 has done it. We've never met, right? But we've done this along the way. We got really, really close, but never met him. I would like to. So Tom, if you're watching this, love the opportunity to get together and say thank you. So anyhow, we got together in Camarillo, California, and Glenn Powell, who is just a remarkable guy, Monica Barbara was there, Jay Ellis, Louis Pullman, Danny Ramirez. It was phenomenal, and we had the opportunity to fly all of them. I personally flew Glenn, Monica, Jay, and Danny.
Awesome.
And took them out over the water. We were dogfighting in another airplane, pulled 8 Gs, and they all did absolutely amazing.
That's incredible.
That was December of 2018.
Now, speaking of Gs, how many Gs have you pulled personally?
Personally,
yeah.
The L-39 can pull up to 8. It can spike up to 8.
Okay.
The F-18 can pull 7.5 sustained. So I have done that a bunch. And then in the centrifuge training, we would get up to 9 Gs.
Okay. And that's so your physiological body could handle it too.
And you learn to physiologically control it, right? To keep as much brain as you can to keep auditory, visual, and cognitive senses.
Keep from blacking out what you see in the movie.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So now, Tom Cruise was pulling a few more Gs than that in the movie.
Right.
But that was incredible. And so, flying over the water and with these actors and stuff, what was their takeaway from this whole experience of flying with you and stuff?
We initially had to train them on the anti-G straining maneuver, so we had to prepare them for jet flight, which is very different than single-engine prop flight. And then we wanted them to get the high aspect angles so that they could act, right? So when you do whoosh, plane to plane, where does it go? Yeah. And how to pull G, because when they went to the F-18 and were flying with active duty Navy pilots, they were controlling the cameras, acting, and having to go through the physiological effects of the airplane.
And they were actually landing on aircraft carriers during that time.
Yeah, absolutely they were.
And you were dogfighting through the mountains and then over the water?
Well, so in July of 2019, when the Navy was complete with their flying and filming, they needed to film the final fight scene. And so they went to Randy.
Yeah.
And Randy came to me and said, "Hey, Intake, would you do this with me?" And what do you think I said?
Yes. That's my go-to answer now. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I said, "Oh, no doubt about it." Absolutely incredible. And so I went to United, a good friend of mine, Mike McCaskey, who I was working for, and I said, "I have this incredible opportunity." And I explained it to him, and he said, without hesitation, "Yeah, go, do it."
Incredible.
It's once in a lifetime.
Good.
So,
good.
Many thanks to Mike.
So, what was the most intense? Aviation path that you've done? And was it Navy? Was it the Blue Angels, or flying in Maverick?
So I've had the opportunity to fly a lot of intense missions, if you will, but Maverick, bar none, was the most intense.
Wow.
All the flying that we did through the canyons and over the water was generally under 100 feet. If you were the chaser, you would be below that. And we would go through canyons, and for those of you that will see the movie, I mean, you'll see we are low.
You are.
And we would come around a turn and terrain mask and chase, and then you'd have to call visual on Kevin LaRosa, who's in helicopter contact. He would pull out in the river, and then we'd go under the helicopter. And so you're trying not to hit the mountain, you're trying not to hit the helicopter, you're trying to hit the other plane, and we were just drenched at the end of it. But the end result is a pretty heart-pounding movie.
I mean, the exhilaration and like being in the theater watching it, it's just incredible how much it captures, the audience, and like just drives you to like, I watched it, in the evening, and I came out of there and I couldn't sleep. I was just like, I'm so pumped up. I was like, this movie is insane.
Yeah. And so Randy and I, when our families and some of the aerial unit went to the cast and crew party in Hollywood, and Randy and I were sitting next to each other, and as it was playing, the scenes that we flew, we were elbowing each other and, you know, pointing because of the memories that we had from filming it.
My adrenaline kicked in, and I wasn't even in the cockpit.
Yeah.
So that is so cool.
Yeah, and that's the reality of the flying, right?
Yeah.
And Tom wanted the people to be in the cockpit with him and experience it from the flight deck, and great success in doing that.
Was there any moments where it was like, we can't be doing this? Like, Tom, this is not something we want to do? Or, I mean, you're flying under 100 feet of elevation.
No, not that I recall.
It was.
There were some moments, so we would run the canyon or a track over the water, right, as we're fighting, and where, because of daylight and fuel, they would want to turn around and run it the other way and turn around and run it the other way to get as much filming as they could.
Totally.
And a couple times over the water, because flying over water, there's no depth perception, where it's all right, let's turn around and come back in. We go, can we get a couple minutes?
Catch our breath and recalibrate.
And we finish and we'd land, and Randy and I would just wide-eyed, hug each other, just thankful that, we're hopeful that we got the shot.
Yeah.
And I think we did.
What also are you in like a there's no air conditioning in there, so is your suit cooled?
No, there's air conditioning.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can change the temperature,
so helps a little bit.
But we had G suits on, and no kidding, one story that's just kind of funny. So we're out over the water and we're doing this, and they want really dynamic movements so that it looks cool on film, and so you're pulling and snapping and rocking the wings, and a whale breached. And Randy said, "Did you see the whale?" And I said, "See the whale? Almost hit the whale." And so the joke was, "Hey, how did intake die?" "Oh, you hit a whale." "Oh, I didn't know he had a boat." "No, he was in a plane." And so that's kind of how low we were.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we definitely, big whale off the coast of California. That's amazing.
Your eyes lit up real wide then. Very cool.
Yeah, it was great. So some incredible experience, and I'm just grateful for all of the opportunities that I've had.
And I love the full circleness of it all. Just how encapsulated, from the day you said, I'm going to be flying those in the first Top Gun movie, and now full circle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thanks, JT. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for giving us a little bit of insight of being in the cockpit in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks.
Cool. Well, what an experience, and congratulations on all your achievements. And you certainly know how to not have a bad day.
That's true.
But we've had some fun adventures too, and had some hard days.
Right.
But we've all come out of it and had some fun too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for spending this time and speaking with us about your experiences in aviation, and thank you for what you've done for our country and continue to do for our country. I mean, you can speak on even more of what you do for wounded warriors, and more of that area too, which I know you're heavily involved with too. Yeah,
so my passion now is I'm on the board of the Blue Angel Foundation, and I spend a tremendous amount of time trying to raise funds to prevent veteran suicide. There are 22 veterans on average that take their lives every day, which is the cost of 18 years of combat, the challenges of that. And so every $5,000 we raise can provide outpatient services to help them through those challenges, $20,000 for inpatient services. And so to merge the Blue Angel Foundation and the Top Gun Maverick, we did an event here in the Colorado Springs, two movies. We raised $55,000.
Congratulations.
Saved 11 veterans, and we continue to hold golf tournaments. And
Well, thank you for doing that as well, and giving back to.
I appreciate you letting me say something.
And giving back to the community and your community too.
Thank you.
And it's awesome. Well, thank you, Scott, for being here.
Thanks,
and for the opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And for the friendship.
Of course.
Hey guys, thanks for watching JT Jester Speaks. I hope that you enjoyed this incredible episode. What an inspiration Scott is, and how he has reached the pinnacle of his career, and how things came full circle for him. What a story it was. To watch more stories like this, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. And we'll catch you on the next episode of JT Jester Speaks.